entered a place of praise, a place of purpose, a place of progress. Welcome to Victory in Praise Church of Stockton, California.
Hello, Victory and Praise family, friends, any guests that may be joining us. Welcome to week 4 and our final week of our New Level series for the month of February. This week is entitled No Matter What. And I got to say quickly that I've really enjoyed my time with you all this month. I appreciate you all coming along on this journey with me and the rest of us throughout this time. I pray that it's been a blessing to you and a blessing to your life. So with that, let's get right into it. This week, I think, was, in my opinion, one of my favorite weeks, just because of the substance of what we talked about. So our foundational scripture for our lesson is Genesis chapter 32, verses 22 through 28, New Living Translation. And in this particular passage of scripture, this is where Jacob is going to basically be wrestling with God. That's who we find out that he's wrestling with, okay? And so I'm not going to read specifically the scripture verbatim, but I'm going to talk from that, and you all will be able to kind of dig in more detail in the scripture. But in this, we find out that during the night, at some point, Jacob gets up and takes his 2 wives, his 2 servant wives, and his 11 sons, and they cross the river, and he takes them over to the other side, right? And he sends all his possessions with him, or with them, excuse me, which then leaves him in the camp all alone. Now, that seems like a random thing, right? That just seems real random, like he just got up and decided, oh, I'm gonna do this, right? But I'm of the mindset that Jacob was aware of what was coming. He was aware of this match that he was about to have. And so, like we learned last week, right? Not everybody can roll with you. And so in this particular moment, Jacob, I believe, had enough, he knew that this was something that his family couldn't do with him. This was something that he had to do on his own. This was between him and God, so to speak, right? Because whatever it was, whatever the blessing was that he needed, he knew it could only come from God, and that it was his blessing. So it was no need for anyone else to be involved here. This is God. This is between you and I. God, you spoke something to me, or you gave me a vision, or a dream of what I would one day be, or what you would do in this scenario, or whatever the thing is, right? And since you did that with me, this is between you and I. And so here it is. He is now, after doing this, left in the camp by himself, right? He's alone. And then the scripture tells us that a man came, a random man strolls into the camp, right? And he and Jacob, this random man and Jacob, get into a wrestling match. They begin to wrestle. And the scripture tells us that they wrestle until the dawn begins to break. So, and what I like about this, and what I hate about it at the same time, is when you read it, and you don't get, like, it leaves, there's so much left on the table, right? Because you can read that particular part of the scripture, and I'll just read that, right? It says, this left Jacob all alone in the camp, and a man came and wrestled with him until the dawn began to break. When the man saw he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of socket. So when you read that, like, it does not even begin to encapsulate all that is entailed in what Jacob had to, in this wrestling match, right? Like, now let's relate that to life for a moment. Here you are, here's Jacob, right? And who knows when this blessing that Jacob was wrestling with this man for, who knows um, when that was spoken to him or when it was promised to him or whatever, right? But think about this now, because if we're going to relate this to our lives, um, think about whenever it was you had a vision or a dream or you heard God's voice about a particular thing, right? And whatever it is he promised to you, and the time from then to now, right? And so for some of you, it may not have been a very long time. For others, it may be have been 15 years or 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, right? And and in that time, a lot has happened, right? As you've been trying and working to bring this vision to pass, or to realize the dreams that you've had, or to fulfill God's purpose for your life, or to pull down into reality the promises, and begin to experience those things, right? So a lot has happened, and for each of us, everybody's story is different. Everybody has gone through different things, right? And in anybody that's ever wrestled, like a real true wrestler, knows the endurance that it takes, what it to engage in a wrestling match with someone of equal skill, ability, with someone of equal size. If you're going to engage in a wrestling match with your equal, and they're equally as talented, they're equally as skilled, they're everything else is equal, and then it's two things that are going to factor here greatly at that point: your endurance and your will, which is why we learned in the scripture, in the message yesterday, that your will has to be greater than your skill, right? We know that because if I'm equally matched with my opponent and we're of equal skill and equal ability, equal talent, equal size, if all things are equal, what then is going to be the separating factor? My will is what's going to be the separating factor. How well I prepared ahead of time. What is my endurance level like? How long can I fight at optimum level? How long can I go with before I faint? How, what I mean? Do I have that second wind? Do I have that second gear? And that's important. And so here it is. We're relating this to life. So Jacob gets into this wrestling match during the night. And who knows, because God's timing is not our timing, right? So who knows, every minute that passes, does that represent a month, or does it represent a year, right? Or every hour that passes, is an hour equal to a year, right? So the bottom line is time is passing, right? Look at as they're wrestling, they wrestle to the point where the dawn is now breaking. So depending on how the timing factor is, be it a minute to a month or an hour to a year, they've wrestled for some time, right? How many of you, like myself, have been locked in a wrestling match with God, and you've been wrestling? I know there's some things that God's spoken over my life, and some visions and things that he gave me, and some dreams and some goals and that I have yet to accomplish, and that are still there, that he hasn't removed from me. So clearly it's there, and it's still there for the taking. But I've been wrestling with him, and I got to continue to do that. And so that's what's true for me is probably true for a lot of you. And here's the other thing too: it doesn't matter what age of life you are. I believe for every single person, no matter how old or young you may be, that God still has something in front of you. There's still a blessing for you. There's still a promise there for you. And you're still, if you're still locked in this match with him, right? And so at some point, if you've ever been in a fight on any level, um, injuries do occur. We've all watched a boxing match where maybe the guy gets cut, right? And the cut might be severe, so they take an injury timeout and they send him over to the doctor to examine him, right? And the doctor checks him out and says, okay, yeah, the cut is bad, but he can still fight. The doctor doesn't call the fight. So then therefore, hey, I'm injured now. I got blood dripping into my eye. I maybe can't see as well as I could out of this eye, but I'm yet still locked in this fight. And so now I have an injury. And so at some point, Jacob sustained an injury. Now, what does that look like for us, right? When we say he sustains an injury here, what does that now look like for us if we bring it into real life? Well, let's think about that for a moment, right? People experience and go through different things, right? I mean, different things happen. Horrible things happen to people throughout their lifetimes, right? That no person should have to experience, but yet it really happens. There are people who are molested in their childhood, or they're sexually assaulted, or their parents abuse them either physically or mentally, or all kinds of horrible things that people go through in life, right? Some things more severe than that, some things less severe. But whatever it is, whatever the thing that you've had to endure, that you have had to go through, that you have had to contend with during this time, during your lifetime, whatever it is, no matter how bad it is, you can come back from it. Like it's something that you can still come back from, because people do, right? There are some things that happen to people that it takes them out. They never recover from it. And then there are those who go through it, they experience the same thing and they recover, but it takes them a long time to do so. And then there are others who go through that same thing and they seem to recover faster, right? They seem to maybe not be knocked off course no matter what it is that they encounter or experience. And that's where our endurance comes in, right? Because we discovered that our endurance, a part of that is the ability to withstand attack, right? So some people have a higher level of endurance to withstand things as it comes, right? And then there are some who are able to recover faster, right? And we have to condition ourselves, we have to train ourselves and prepare ourselves for this new level, right? Because we want the blessing, we want the new thing, we want to elevate. But here's the thing, like it's not easy, an easy process. We've discovered that as we've gone through this. So whatever it is that you are facing, that maybe right now, or that you've dealt with in the past, that you are maybe yet enduring, you have to be like Jacob. You have to say, guess what? I'm injured now, but this fight is not over. I'm wounded, and I'm not the person I was when this fight started. But guess what? I'm still standing, and so it's not over. I'm not down. You haven't put me down. I'm injured. I could only imagine Jacob with his hip out of socket. He's not, he ain't able to move as good as he was moving. But he's like, you know what? My legs may not work as well, but these hands, I can still throw these hands. I can still wrestle with you. And so he's like, I'm not gonna let you go, no matter what. No matter what you do, you can take my other hip out of socket. I'm not letting you go. And at some point, the reality of who this man was dealing with, he's like, oh wait, I'm dealing this dude. This dude's will is strong. This dude's endurance is developed. He ain't gonna let me go. So at some point, the man just says, look, I will give you what you asked for. Just let me go. Okay. Because Jacob made it clear, I will not let you go unless you bless me. I didn't come this far, go through all of this to let you go when the dawn is now breaking, when my victory is in sight. Absolutely not. And so at some point the man says, look, okay, cool. And I'm using the James vernacular, so forgive me for that, right? But he says, he asked him, what is your name? And he says, my name is Jacob. And he says, your name will no longer be Jacob. The man told him, from now on, you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won. Oh man, the excitement that to me comes from that is just amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing. So to that end, I will say this. I hope you all have a wonderful Bible study discussion tonight and throughout the week as you go. And I'm excited for the return of Bishop Turner this coming week. I'm sure with him having a month of rest, we are going to get a refreshed and on fire Bishop Turner. So please hold on to your seats, because who knows how that brother's going to come back. I've had fun time with you all these last 3 or 4 weeks, and I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful week. God bless.
If you have not had the opportunity to join a small group for our weekly Bible study lesson, please go to our website, victoryandpraise.org/small groups to see the day and times available. Again, thank you for joining us for this week's small group lesson, A New Level. Please be sure to join us on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. in the sanctuary or via our Facebook page or YouTube channel. God bless.